Hi, I'm Richard.
And I'm Jackie, and we are Early Retirement Wanderlust.
We've been early retired for about 7 months now, and we just wanted to share with you some of the freedoms that we've found having made that decision. Hi, welcome to our little impromptu studio. We're out in Arizona at the moment, and we're in a little hotel room. And I apologise for the lights, and I apologise for my height because I'm now much, much smaller than I normally am. But we just wanted to get this message out to you.
Yeah, it's nearly 7 months since you retired from teaching. For people that haven't seen any of our other videos, we sold our house in Cheshire, we downsized and moved to the Yorkshire Dales so that we were mortgage free.
So we're really fortunate. We've got two children who are grown up and are doing their own thing around the country. And that afforded us the opportunity to make the decision to early retire when we did.
We've been on the road for about 2.5 weeks, travelling around Phoenix, and we have had lots of time to think about the freedoms that early retirement has actually given us. We knew that we'd have a lot of time, but yeah, we really had time to think about the difference that that time has made to our lives.
Yeah, it's really simple to sort of just say that early retirement gives you time. Of course it does. But we've decided to sort of try and drill down a little bit as to what the actual freedoms that that time gives and some of the things that perhaps we hadn't considered when we were making that decision to early retire.
A big part of our early retirement is that we wanted to relocate. We wanted to move to the Yorkshire Dales, a place that we've always loved being, and it's closer to Richard's mum. It's still not too far from my mum. If we'd been working, we know that that would have been quite tricky figuring out how to do that move. It would have been the logistics of selling our house so that we could both move in a term time.
I just don't know quite how we would have actually relocated as a couple. Um, we would have both had to get new jobs in a very, very specific area. And the way we did it in terms of buying our property, it was really stressful when we were early retired because we ended up having to end the chain of our house sale to make sure that the house sale went through. We then found ourselves, and you may well have seen on previous videos, 14 weeks houseless but not homeless because we were travelling in that time waiting during a really stressful period to try and secure the property that we really, really wanted in the Yorkshire Dales. If we'd had to do that while we were working,
Well, we just couldn't have, I don't think, because the Yorkshire Dales, there aren't many schools, so we wouldn't have been able to both find teaching jobs within travelling distance of where we wanted to move. So I suppose that's our first freedom. We could do exactly what we wanted. We wanted to move to the Dales, and we managed to do that. When we first started looking for properties in the Yorkshire Dale, we didn't realise quite how expensive it was going to be, and we did quickly realise that to buy a property that we could afford, we would have to buy a property that maybe needed a little bit of work doing to it.
and we never ever renovated a house in our lives.
And we're pretty useless at that.
We've always lived or moved to houses that are relatively new that needed little work, but we knew that that wasn't in our price bracket. Once we secured the purchase of our house, we put out a few quotes and to various builders and things like that, and it seemed that we were just going to be priced out if someone was going to handle the whole project for us. So we had no alternative, and we knew that it would be quite exciting to project
Yeah.
manage the whole renovation ourselves.
Yeah, we did get quite a few different quotes. We had a quote for nearly £65,000, bearing in mind it's a small two up, two down, mid terrace that was livable. It just was, there were tweaks that we wanted doing, but £65,000 to renovate it with them project managing. The project managing fee was £5,000, so we decided we could save that and do it ourselves.
And if we'd have been working, I honestly don't know how we'd have actually project managed the whole thing. the amount of time that we've spent on the phone, the amount of time that we've spent waiting for meetings, the amount of time that we've spent meeting with various tradespeople, it's all been really worthwhile and it's all been really rewarding. But I don't know how we could have held down a job while we were doing that.
No. And then actually living in a renovation project, if we were working and living where we've been living for the last few months, I don't know what state we'd have turned up at work in.
There have been times where we've just decided to decamp and disappear off in the camper van. That's all well and good when we're really retired. If we'd have had to go to work the following morning, I'm not quite sure how that would have worked. I wouldn't want to put anyone off a renovation project because at the moment we're still absolutely loving it.
Yeah. And it's really exciting because we're in Phoenix at the moment. We've had most of the work done. Have you seen any of our other videos? But when we get back, I think within 3 weeks, we've got the kitchen, the bathroom and the fireplace being put in and then the flooring going in, and that's the house done. So we're hoping by Easter we'll have a really gorgeous little cottage in the Yorkshire Dales that we can live in.
But don't get me wrong, it's been really nice not to have to answer the phone all the time or to get quotes or to haggle about prices for the last 2.5 weeks. It's been a lovely rest.
We've had a little bit of a break.
One of the big freedoms that we always wanted out of early retirement was the freedom to travel and the freedom to go on adventures. And we think in the first 7 months, we've done pretty well on that. We've always travelled and we've always had that thirst for going and finding the hidden places. And that's been particularly magnified when we got our VW camper van. But we've always been limited to holiday times and weekends. And pretty much until we early retired, we were away most weekends. And we were certainly away for most of the holiday times that we had.
Being early retired, it's really opened up a whole world to us. We went skiing in January and it was really cheap. It was amazing. We took the kids because they don't work in education. That was a big eye-opener. My mum always goes to America in the winter. She doesn't like the winters in England. And we had the opportunity to come out to Phoenix. We joined her for 10 days in Phoenix and then we've just travelled around Arizona for the rest of the month. But we wouldn't have been able to do that if we were teaching. We've never had the chance to join her in her winter travels before.
One of the things you might remember back from some of our previous videos is that we took great delight as teachers, after teaching for 30 years, having our first main holiday in Europe in September.
Oh gosh, yeah. It was so quiet compared to when we had to go in the summer holidays. And although it doesn't particularly bother us, it was really bizarre that there were no children. We're just so used to having kids around us with our kids, with education kids. But it was actually lovely being with the retirement community when we were in the Alps in the summer. Another part of us having so much time to do what we want to do is that we've been able to take up opportunities that we've just not been able to do before. We've got friends that live in the Lake District. They were going on a cruise to the Antarctic and they needed someone to house sit for them. Well, just having no house of our own at the time, it was amazing to just be able to say, yep, we can do that for 2 weeks, mid-December. We've not got to be in school. And we had the most amazing 2 weeks.
And on the flip side of that, when things were getting really, really bad with our house purchase, and when we were coming into, I think it was possibly about our 12th week of being without a house, we just decided that we'd had enough. And we bought a one-way ticket to the Outer Hebrides and vowed that we would not return to the mainland until we'd got a house.
And we pretty much didn't.
One of the things that we were really conscious about that we wanted to get out of early retirement was to spend more time with our families and the people that we love. We knew that when we worked, we were pretty much all in. So we were working really, really hard during the week. And then, as we've already said, we travelled quite extensively at weekends and at holidays. And we know that it was quite difficult to fit family in at that time.
Yeah, our daughter lives down in Cardiff. I worked part-time, so I would see my mum quite a lot in the week, but you didn't get as much opportunity to visit your mum. We still tried to visit at least every week because she's on her own now.
And that was quite tying. And I love visiting mum, but it was quite tying living away. So one of the things about relocating to Yorkshire and that I'm really grateful for is that I have more time visiting my mum. My mum has dementia, and she does have quite extensive care needs, and it's just really nice being close to her, knowing that we're not restricted to visiting on a weekend and that we can just pop in when we're passing. And as we found by relocating to the Yorkshire Dales, we're passing quite a lot, and that's worked out really well.
Yeah, and it's nice that actually, while we've been renovating the house, we've spent quite a lot more time with our kids because we've stayed at our son's house quite a lot. He lives in Manchester, and excitedly, our daughter has moved up with her partner to live in the house opposite our son in Manchester as well. So it's fab. We can kill two birds with one stone and get to see them more.
And those of you that are parents will absolutely understand that it is huge payback time now that we can visit them in their lovely houses, and we can make as much mess as we want, and we can drink as much of their wine stores as we want, and we then disappear.
Equally, with all our travelling, we knew that we didn't, or I was quite conscious that we didn't spend as much time with a lot of our friends. I used to pop out and have coffee with a lot of my friends on a Saturday, and we haven't done that for 4 or 5 years since we've had the van. But we're again really excited that they can come and visit us in the Dales, and we're not tied to weekends. On their weekends while they're still working, we can go and visit them.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we're so excited about, and probably why we're so impatient about getting the house done, in the fact that we feel that we've been stuck in no man's land and that we haven't had a base for people to come and visit us. And we are so excited about having our friends up.
Yeah.
The prospect of having people up for the weekend and to be able to entertain them in what we consider to be our happy space is just something we're so excited about.
Yeah, we've consciously made a decision that we're going to go travelling in sort of June, and we're going to go travelling in September, but we want to try and keep around the UK based in July and August, so that we can have most of our teaching friends can actually come and stay with us when they've got the odd weekend that they want to get away. With us both being teachers, we do get a lot of time together. We had a lot of time, quality time, we thought, where we would go away travelling at weekends and holidays. What we didn't realise is how tired we were on those weekends.
Early retirement has really highlighted to us pretty much how broken we were by the profession. And I was reading something recently where it says you work really, really hard to get the thing that you really want, which is time. But because you're working so hard, you don't actually get the time, because you're just too tired. And I think that's where we were.
Yeah, and we realise now when we're travelling and we are having weekends, or it isn't even weekends anymore, but if we get away for the odd few days, actually we love it. We go, we walk, we hike, we make the most of every minute, and we're not having to rush to get back anywhere, and we're not absolutely exhausted as well.
And it's just really nice to spend time with one another. And I know that sounds really twee, but it's really important to us. And it's really important that in early retirement we also have time to ourselves. So I think it's well documented on this channel that I get up very, very early and Jackie doesn't.
I don't.
But we have that time apart, and one of the things that we will be doing is that, we're going to be following our own passions as well, but also having that quality time together. One of the things that I really wanted to get out of early retirement was to be a little bit more mindful and to be a little bit more present. Jackie doesn't believe in all of this.
Richard's a bit hippy-dippy.
She doesn't believe in this at all. But one of the things that was really important to me was to be able to get that freedom to be present. Now, I'm aware that when I was working really, really hard. And that work impinged on my time when I was with Jackie and when I was with family and when I was with friends. So a prime example was we'd be doing wonderful things at the weekend, but I'd be thinking about the horrible meeting that I'd got coming up on the Monday, or I'd be dwelling on something that had happened on the Friday. That ability to be present, I can't actually put a price on at this moment in time. And I find that I'm having a real quality experience, and I can go to all these wonderful places and I can be absolutely present without distraction. And that's really important. And I think it's something that until you step out of the working world, you don't actually realise what an effect it has had on you while you were working.
Yeah, and I've noticed that difference in you. I've noticed that you are more chilled out when we are doing things together. Richard was always a massive fan of going to the gym. Um, and actually, in our retirement at the moment, the freedoms that we've had, that's the one thing that we've not fitted in. But our gym at the moment is outside, and we've made so much of everything that's around us, whether it be in the Yorkshire Dales, if we've been doing the house and painting, we've just looked out and said, it's really sunny. Why are we painting when it's a beautiful day and we can get out into the fresh air, open for 3, 4, 5 hours?
Yeah, one of our coaches that coached us both was a big advocate of lifelong fitness. And Craig, I think you're absolutely right that we are absolutely living that now. And when we went to the gym, it was because our time was limited and we needed to get the work done and we needed to get it done in a certain amount of time. Whereas now, because we've got the freedom of time, we no longer need that environment. And I think, our health and well-being is now at the forefront of our mind, and rather than it being an afterthought, I think it is a priority every day, and we always try and get out and we always try and do something. So that might be building the habit of a daily run, or it might be just going out and getting your steps in. But for us, getting out into the great outdoors and getting some fresh air has had a massive impact.
Even today, we went out, we wanted to go to a place that I'd seen on Instagram. It was beautiful. It's called Horseshoe Bend. But we got there and it was like, okay, we've got all day. What are we going to do? We've got no ties. So we went on a 6-mile walk into a canyon. We just looked on all trails, decided that looks really good. We'll follow it.
And bizarrely, we just wandered off into the desert, knowing that at some point we'd turn around and we'd come back.
And that's kind of summed up what we've been like for the last 7 months. We've just woken up and thought, oh, we'll do this. And then suddenly we've done a 10-mile hike and we've not even realised that's what we've done.
It may sound really twee coming from 2 ex-teachers, but we genuinely believe in the importance of lifelong learning. And one of the things that we were really concerned about going into early retirement was that we would lose that learning and we would stagnate in some way. But we've learned loads of new things and we've made loads of commitments to learn new things.
Yeah, we've learned how to be YouTube people. We've got our own YouTube channel, and we also do a weekly blog on earlyretirementwanderlust.com.
So that opportunity to be creative and learn new skills and to really put ourselves out there, because this is not the most comfortable thing in the world to do.
No.
And it's fair to say that when we made the decision probably about 6 months ago to do it, that we knew that we were going to find it really difficult, but it's really rewarding when it goes well and it's really frustrating when it doesn't go well.
We're learning our photo editing skills because our big passion is photography and just going to beautiful places and making sure we capture those moments on photos.
And on a simpler level, following a comment from one of our YouTube followers about my embarrassment at not being able to speak French, we got a wonderful tip off to get stuck into Duolingo, and I'm loving that on a daily basis now. I'm into my 32nd day of lessons of learning French, and my French is still terrible, but I'm really enjoying that process.
Duolingo feeds into Richard's obsessiveness. He gets an email if he's not done anything on that day to say you're going to lose your streak of 30 days. So he goes on learning his French, even if it's like 11 o'clock at night.
But what's more important is I get my little jewel every time I hit that, and I can collect my jewels.
I'm loving the freedom to be impromptu, whether it be when we're at home in the Yorkshire Dales or while we're away in Phoenix. Nothing seems very stressful anymore. We hadn't massively planned the trip that we're doing, but we had planned our 3 nights on the Grand Canyon. That was the main thing that we'd booked. And as you'll see from videos that we've released in the last couple of weeks, that didn't really go to plan. But plan B actually turned out to be amazing.
And the fact that we got that freedom to change our plans and not be too stressed about it and just go with the flow was quite incredible.
Yeah, it was.
And I know that if there's any of my previous work colleagues watching this, it would be the most alien thing to me because I loved a good plan.
He
I
does.
loved planning and being strategic about everything that we do. And that's something I've got to learn, and the freedom to be able to do that and just chill out a little bit and relax and let things happen is really good for my health and well-being.
You've been much better at that. You used to get a bit panicky if things didn't quite go right, but yeah, since we've been retired, lots of things haven't quite gone to plan. But like when we didn't get the house for 14 weeks, we had the freedom to, we saw it as an opportunity. We went to Europe because we had the freedom. We went to the Outer Hebrides, and I was not coming back until we got that house. But we had the freedom to do that. It was perfect. It feels like we've rambled a little bit about all the freedoms that we've had, but genuinely, since we've retired, and when we reflected on it while we've been travelling, the freedoms that we've had that retiring has given us you can't measure them really, can you?
It is so much more than time.
It is.
It would be really simplistic to say, well, of course, when you early retire, you've got more time, but it goes much, much deeper than that. And the freedom that we have felt in the 7 months that we have been early retired, and it is only 7 months, and it may well change, and who knows where it's going to go in the next few years.
Well, I'm hoping the freedoms get even better because we won't have been tied down doing a house up while we're trying to do all the travelling as well.
So we hope you've enjoyed our reflections on where we think we're at this moment in time. They are only our reflections, and we just hope that you've got something out of this.
Yep, we've still got no regrets. We still feel more free now than we ever have done, and hope to continue that.
See you later.
Bye.